and checked his energy rifle one more time. The simulation was about to begin, and he could already hear the heavy footsteps of his squad mates moving into position. "Okay, Blue Team, report your status," came the voice of Kim Hansol through the communication device in Daeho's ear. Hansol was the best human cadet at the Galactic Defense Academy. He always followed the rules perfectly. "Position 7. Ready?" Daeho whispered back, but he was not really ready. Not for what the Academy wanted him to do. Through the small window in the training room, Daeho could see the stars beyond the station. Each one represented a world in the Galactic Alliance. Humans had joined this alliance only 50 years ago. Most alien species still thought humans were too wild and dangerous to be trusted with important missions. The training room changed around them. Holographic projectors created the inside of a space station under attack. Red emergency lights flashed everywhere. The mission was simple: follow standard Alliance battle formation, K Alpha 7, and stop the enemy raiders from reaching the reactor core. Daeho had studied Alpha 7 formation many times. It was designed 300 years ago by the Centauri Military Council. Every cadet learned it in their first month. Formation worked by creating layers of defense that could stop any known enemy attack pattern. "Enemy contacts approaching from Sector 4. Park Sojin's voice came through the communication system. She was working as the communications officer for this exercise. Daeho had known Sajin since they started at the academy together. She was smart and always tried to keep him out of trouble. "All units moved to Alpha 7 positions," Hanzhao ordered. "Remember the academy rules. Stay in formation and follow the manual." Daeho moved with his team, but something felt wrong. Had been watching recordings of real raider attacks for weeks. The enemy ships moved differently than what the academy taught them to expect. They were faster and more unpredictable. The holographic raiders appeared at the end of the corridor. They moved in strange patterns that made no sense, according to Alliance military books. Daeho watched as his teammates took their assigned positions. Everything was exactly like the manual said it should be. The attack began. Energy blasts filled the air as both sides opened fire. The academy formation worked perfectly for the first few minutes. The raiders could not break through the organized defense, but then something changed. The enemy started moving in ways that the alliance formation could not handle. They split into small groups and attacked from unexpected angles. Within minutes, half of the human team was marked as eliminated by the simulation computer. "Hold positions," Hansel shouted. "The formation will work. Trust the system." Daeho saw the problem clearly now. The alliance formation was designed to fight enemies who also used organized formations, but these raiders fought like wild animals. They had no formation at all. They just attacked wherever they saw weakness. The simulation raiders were winning. In a real battle, everyone would be dead by now. Daeho made his choice. T broke away from his assigned position and ran toward the enemy. His movement confused the raiders because it was not what they expected from alliance training. "Daeho, get back in formation," Hansol ordered through the communication system. But Daeho was not listening anymore. He had studied old human military history during his free time. Before humans joined the alliance, they fought wars very differently. Human soldiers used surprise attacks and confusion to win battles against stronger enemies. Daeho threw his rifle to Sojin and pulled out 2 smaller energy pistols. He started moving in random patterns, shooting at the raiders from unexpected positions. The holographic enemies could not predict where he would be next. "What is he doing?" one of the alien observers asked from the control room. Commander Vexter, the Academy's chief instructor, watched with cold reptilian eyes. The plan worked. Daeho's chaotic movements created openings that his teammates could use. Hansol quickly understood and ordered the rest of the team to support Daeho's attack. Within minutes, All the simulation raiders were eliminated. The training room returned to normal. The holographic enemies disappeared, and the lights became bright again. Dayo's team had won, but he could see anger in Hansal's face. Cadet Lee. Commander Vexter's voice echoed through the room. Report to my office immediately. The other cadets stared at Dayo as he walked past them. Some looked impressed, but most looked worried. Breaking Academy rules was serious business. Commander Vextor's office was cold and dark. The reptilian commander sat behind a metal desk covered with reports and Academy regulations. His yellow eyes studied Dayo for a long time before he spoke. 50 years of teaching at this academy. I have seen many students who think they know better than their instructors, Vextar said slowly. Most of them are dead now. Dayo stood straight and said nothing. The Alliance has maintained peace in this galaxy for over 400 years, the commander continued. We achieved this peace by following rules and maintaining discipline. Every formation, every protocol, every regulation exists because it has been tested in real combat. But Commander, the simulation showed that the old formations do not work against these new raiders, Dayo said carefully. Vextar's eyes became brighter with anger. The simulation showed that you cannot follow orders. You endangered your entire team with your reckless behavior. My team won the exercise. Your team survived because this was only a simulation. In real combat, your actions would have resulted in chaos and death. The commander stood up and walked to a large window that showed the training area below. Other cadet teams were practicing standard formations. Humans have a reputation for being unpredictable, Vextar said. Many species in the Alliance question whether your people can be trusted with military responsibility. Your actions today prove their concerns are correct. Dayo felt his face becoming hot with anger, but he controlled himself. Commander, I was trying to find a better way to complete the mission. There is no better way than the proven way, Vextar replied. You will spend the next week cleaning the Academy waste processing systems. Perhaps manual labor will teach you the value of following instructions. Yes, Commander. Furthermore, Vextar continued, if you break Academy protocol again, you will be expelled from this institution. The Alliance military has no place for soldiers who cannot follow orders. Dayo left the commander's office with his mind full of angry thoughts. In the corridor, he met Sojin and Hansol. Both of them looked concerned. That was incredibly stupid, Hansol said. You could have gotten us all in serious trouble. But we won, Dayo replied. Winning is not the point, Hansol shot back. Following orders is the point. How can commanders trust us in real battles if we do not obey them in training? Sojin put her hand on Dayo's shoulder. Hansol is right. Academy rules exist for good reasons. Maybe you should try following them for a while. That night, Dayo lay in his small room and stared at the ceiling. Through his window, he could see alien ships arriving and leaving the station. Each ship represented a different world, a different species working together in the Alliance. Maybe the others were right. Maybe his human instincts were wrong for this new galaxy. The Alliance had created peace through cooperation and following rules. Who was he to think he knew better than centuries of military experience? But deep in his mind, Dayo could not forget what he had seen in the simulation. The raiders fought differently than anything in the Academy manuals. If they were real, if they ever attacked Alliance worlds, the standard formations would fail. As he finally fell asleep, Dayo made a decision. He would follow the Academy rules and be a good soldier. But he would also continue studying the old human ways of fighting, just in case. Before regular classes started, the work was dirty and smelled terrible, but it gave him time to think. During those quiet hours in the maintenance tunnels, Daeho had been studying something the Academy did not teach. He found old human military records in the station's database. Wars that happened on Earth before humans joined the Alliance. The tactics were completely different from what Commander Vexstar taught. "You look tired," Sojin said as she sat next to him in the Academy dining hall. Her food tray held the usual mixture of foods from different worlds. The Alliance believed sharing meals helped different species understand each other. "I am fine," Daeho replied, but his eyes were red from lack of sleep. Han-Sol joined them at the table. As the top human cadet, he always ate with perfect posture and never complained about the alien food. "Have you learned your lesson yet?" he asked Daeho. Before Daeho could answer, the dining hall's communication system activated. All conversation stopped as Admiral Korth's face appeared on the large screens around the room. The Admiral was the highest-ranking military officer in this sector of the galaxy. "Attention all Academy personnel," the Admiral said. His voice was calm, but Daeho could see worry in his eyes. "We have received multiple distress signals from the Kepler-44-2b system. TIT. The planet is under attack by unknown raiders." Murmurs spread through the dining hall. Kepler-442b was a frontier world with over 2 million colonists. It was supposed to be well protected by Alliance defense forces. Initial reports indicate that 3 Alliance battle fleets have engaged the enemy. Admiral Korth continued. "Communication was lost with all 3 fleets approximately 6 hours ago." The dining hall became completely silent. 3 battle fleets meant over 300 ships and 50,000 trained soldiers. How could they all disappear so quickly? "Academy training schedules are suspended immediately," the Admiral said. "Senior cadets will report to Briefing Room 7 in 1 hour. We are organizing a rescue mission." The screen went dark. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, cadets from every species began talking at once. Daeho heard fear in their voices, no matter what language they spoke. 3 fleets, Sojin whispered. "That is impossible. The Alliance has never lost 3 fleets in a single battle." Asal stood up straight, his military training taking control. "We should prepare for deployment. This is what we have been training for." But Daeho felt a cold fear growing in his stomach. He remembered the simulation from 3 weeks ago. The raiders who moved in unpredictable patterns. The ones who could not be stopped by standard Alliance formations. An hour later, the largest briefing room in the Academy was filled with senior cadets and instructors. Representatives from 12 different species sat in rows facing a large display screen. Commander Vexstar stood next to Admiral Korth at the front of the room. "The situation at Kepler-442b is worse than we initially reported," Admiral Korth began. "The raiders are not just attacking the planet. They have taken complete control of the orbital space around it." The display screen showed tactical information from the battle. Daeho studied the patterns carefully. The raider ships moved in formations he had never seen before. They seemed to predict exactly where Alliance ships would be and how they would attack. Akar intelligence suggests these raiders have been studying Alliance military tactics for years. The Admiral continued. "Every standard formation we use, they have a counterattack ready." Commander Vexter stepped forward. "This is why discipline in following established procedures is so important," he said, looking directly at Daeho. "When facing an unknown enemy, we must rely on proven methods." Hanzo raised his hand. "Admiral, my squad requests permission to join the rescue mission." "Granted," Admiral Korth replied. "You will support the main fleet using Formation Beta 3 while evacuation ships remove civilians from the planet's surface." As the briefing continued, Daeho studied the battle recordings more carefully. Something about the raider movements looked familiar. They were not just random attacks. There was a pattern, but it was unlike anything in Alliance military books. After the briefing ended, most cadets hurried to prepare their equipment, but Daeho walked slowly back to his room. He needed to check something in his private files. His room was small and simple, like all cadet quarters, but hidden in his personal computer were the human military records he had been studying. Wars from centuries ago. Before humanity knew other species existed. He found what he was looking for in a file about something called guerrilla warfare. Human soldiers who fought against much larger armies by avoiding direct battle. They used hit-and-run tactics, surprise attacks, and confusion to win against superior forces. The raider attack patterns were similar. They avoided fighting Alliance ships directly. Instead, they attacked from unexpected angles and disappeared before the Alliance could respond properly. It was like watching ancient human tactics adapted for space combat. A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Yoon Ji-woo entered the room. She was a human engineer who worked in the Academy's research department. Most people did not know her because she spent all her time in the laboratories. "I heard about your punishment," Ji-woo said quietly. "Commander Vexstar thinks human unpredictability is dangerous." "Maybe he is right," Daeho replied. Ji-woo smiled. "I have been working on some projects that the Alliance considers too unpredictable. Technologies based on human engineering principles that they will not approve for military use." She sat down and activated a small holographic display. Stealth systems that work by being random instead of organized. Weapons that use chaos mathematics instead of precise calculations. The Alliance says these designs are unreliable. Daeho looked at the technical diagrams. "Why are you showing me this?" "'Cause I think you understand something that the other instructors do not," Ji-woo said. "Sometimes unpredictable is exactly what we need." Before Daeho could respond, his communication device activated. So-jin's voice came through clearly. "Daeho, you need to come to the communications center right away. We are receiving new signals from Kepler 4 to B." Ho and Ji-woo hurried through the station corridors. The communications center was filled with officers trying to understand the incoming messages. So-jin was working at one of the main control stations. "What did you find?" Daeho asked. Keiho asked. "The raider ships are not just attacking randomly," So-jin said. She brought up a display showing ship movements around Kepler 4 to B. "They are learning. Every time our ships use a formation, the raiders adapt to counter it within minutes." "Adaptive artificial intelligence," Ji-woo whispered. "They have created computer systems specifically designed to defeat Alliance tactics." Daeho stared at the display. "That means every formation in our military manuals is useless against them." "Not just useless," So-jin added. "The more predictable our tactics are, the faster they can learn to beat us." At that moment, Daeho realized the horrible truth. The Alliance military system was designed around predictability and following rules. But they were facing an enemy that used that predictability as a weapon against them. The rescue mission was going to be a disaster. Commander Vexstar entered the communications center with several other officers. He looked at the displays, and his reptilian face showed no emotion. "The main fleet will depart in 6 hours," he announced. "All assigned personnel should complete their preparations." As the officers left, Daeho made a decision that would change everything. He turned to Ji-woo and spoke quietly. "Can your experimental technologies be ready in 6 hours?" "Okay, some of them," she replied. "But using them would be completely against Academy regulations." Daeho looked at So-jin, his oldest friend at the Academy. The person who always tried to keep him out of trouble. "If I break the rules again, will you help me?" So-jin was quiet for a long time. Finally, she nodded. "If it means saving those people, yes." The gathering storm was about to become a hurricane, and 3 humans were about to gamble everything on the dangerous idea that sometimes breaking the rules was the only way to win. could see the massive battle formation spread across space. 200 ships moved in perfect lines, just like the manual said they should. Admiral Court's voice came through the communication system to all ships. All units, maintain formation, Beta 3. We will approach the planet in 3 waves and establish evacuation corridors for civilian ships. Through the ship's windows, Tejo could see Kepler for to be in the distance. The planet looked peaceful from this far away, but sensors showed dozens of raider ships in orbit around it. They moved in strange patterns that made no sense according to Alliance military training. Enemy contacts approaching from multiple vectors, the ship's tactical officer reported. They are not using any known formation. Hanzo stood at his command position on the bridge. As squad leader, he was responsible for 20 cadet fighters. All pilots, remember your training. Stay in formation and follow the plan. But Tejo was not paying attention to Hanzo's orders. He was watching the raider ships on the tactical display. They moved like hunters surrounding prey. Every time an Alliance ship turned left, raiders were already waiting on the left side. Every time the Alliance formation spread out, raiders attacked the gaps. They know what we are going to do before we do it, Sojin whispered from her communication station. The first wave of Alliance ships engaged the raiders. Energy weapons lit up space as both sides opened fire. For a few minutes. It looked like the Alliance formation might work. Then everything went wrong. The raider ships suddenly changed their tactics. Instead of fighting the Alliance formation directly, they started attacking from angles that the formation could not defend. Within minutes, 3 Alliance cruisers were destroyed. Second wave advanced to support, Admiral Korth ordered. But the raiders had already learned from the first attack. They adapted their positions to counter the second wave before it could help. 2 more Alliance ships exploded in balls of fire. Tejo watched in horror as the disaster unfolded. The raiders were not just fighting the Alliance. They were learning from every move the Alliance made and using that knowledge to predict the next attack. All Academy units maintained support positions. Commander Vextar's voice came through the communication system. Do not break formation. Under any circumstances, Tejo could see that maintaining formation was exactly what the raiders wanted. Every predictable move made it easier for them to win. He looked across the bridge at Ji-woo. She was working at an engineering station, pretending to run normal equipment checks. But Tejo knew she was really preparing her experimental technology. Hanzo, Tejo said quietly, the formation is not working. The formation will work, Hanzo replied firmly. We just need to trust the system and follow orders. Another Alliance ship exploded on the tactical display. Then another. Hanzo, we are losing, Sojin said from her station. Maybe we should try something different. There is nothing different to try, Hanzo answered. Alliance tactics have worked for hundreds of years. They will work now. But Tejo had made his decision. He activated his private communication. Channel 2, Ji-woo, are you ready? The stealth system is online, she whispered back. But if we use it, everyone will know we broke regulations. How many people do you think will die if we do nothing? She was quiet for a moment. Then she began typing commands into her engineering console on the tactical display. The Alliance formation was falling apart. The raiders had learned to counter every standard tactic. Admiral Korth was ordering retreat, but even retreating in formation was predictable enough for the raiders to exploit. Tejo stood up from his station. Hanzo, I am taking my fighter and engaging the enemy. You will stay in formation, Hanzo ordered. That is a direct command. I am sorry, Tejo said. But people are dying because we are too predictable. He left the bridge and ran through the corridors toward the fighter bay. Behind him, he could hear Hanzo shouting orders to stop him. But Tejo did not care about orders anymore. In the fighter bay, Jiwoo was waiting with a modified fighter ship. It looked normal from the outside, but Daeho knew it was equipped with technology the Alliance had never approved. The stealth system uses random energy patterns, Jiwoo explained quickly. The raiders cannot predict something that is truly random. The weapons are programmed with chaos mathematics. Every shot will be slightly different. Akoi climbed into the fighter. What about the other systems? Everything else works on unpredictable principles, Jiwoo said. Your ship will be impossible for their learning computers to understand. As Daeho started the fighter's engines, his communication system activated. Commander Vexter's angry voice filled the cockpit. Cadet Lee, return to your station immediately. You are under arrest for disobeying direct orders. But instead of responding to the commander, Daeho opened a channel to Sojin. Can you help me coordinate this attack? There was a long pause. Then Sojin's voice came through clearly. Sending you tactical data now. I am also routing communication channels to bypass Academy Command. Sojin, you are also under arrest. Commander Vextar shouted. With respect, Commander, Sojin replied calmly. I think saving lives is more important than following orders right now. Daeho's fighter launched from the Academy ship and immediately activated Jiwoo's stealth system. On his display, he could see his ship disappear from all sensors. The raiders would not be able to track him. He flew toward the main battle area, using flight patterns based on ancient human fighter tactics. Instead of flying in straight lines like Alliance pilots, he moved in random curves and sudden direction changes. The raiders noticed his approach, but their learning computers could not predict where he would go next. For the first time in the battle, they looked confused. Daeho opened fire with his chaos-programmed weapons. Each energy blast followed a slightly different path and had different power levels. The raider ships tried to adapt their defenses, but there was nothing consistent to adapt to. 3 raider ships exploded before they could figure out how to respond. Unknown fighter, identify yourself. Admiral Quartz's voice came through the communication system. This is Cadet Lee Daeho, he replied while continuing his attack run. I am using experimental human technology to engage the enemy. You are ordered to return to formation immediately. But Daeho's success was creating opportunities for other Alliance ships. Some of the raiders had moved to counter his unpredictable attacks, leaving gaps in their defensive positions. All Alliance units, Daeho broadcast on the main communication channel. Attack the gaps in sectors 7 and 12. The raiders cannot defend everywhere at once. Several Alliance captains ignored their formation orders and attacked the gaps Daeho had created. For a few minutes, it looked like the tide of battle might turn. Then the raiders activated something new. Warning signals filled Daeho's cockpit as massive energy readings appeared on his sensors. The raider ships were charging some kind of weapon he had never seen before. All ships, emergency retreat, Admiral Korth ordered. Unknown energy signature detected, but it was too late. The raiders had activated a doomsday protocol. Every raider ship began glowing with dangerous energy as they prepared to turn themselves into weapons. Daeho realized with horror what was about to happen. The raiders could not learn to counter completely random tactics, so they were going to destroy everything in the area instead. His decision to break the rules had saved some Alliance ships, but it had also triggered something far worse. Space around Kepler-4 4-B was about to become a burning hell, and it was all his fault. At his fighter cockpit. When he looked again, the blast wave was racing toward the Alliance fleet. All ships, emergency jump to hyperspace, Admiral Korth shouted over the communication system. This is not a retreat. This is survival. But 3 more raider ships exploded before any Alliance vessel could escape. The energy releases were massive, far beyond anything normal weapons could produce. Each explosion created a chain reaction that damaged everything within thousands of kilometers. Daeho's experimental fighters shook violently as the shockwaves hit. His stealth system failed completely, and half of his weapon systems went offline. Through his cockpit window, he could see Alliance ships burning as they tried desperately to reach safe jumping distance. Daeho, get back to the Academy ship. Now, Sojin's voice came through his communication system, but he could hear fear in her voice. The Academy ship was too close to the expanding explosions to jump away safely. I cannot make it back, Daeho replied. My engines are damaged. On his sensor display, he watched as raider ships throughout the star system began the same suicidal energy buildup. This was not just happening at Kepler-4 for the B. The raiders were destroying themselves everywhere to prevent Alliance forces from learning their secrets. Emergency transmission from Sector Command, Sojin reported. Raider attacks are happening at 3 different star systems simultaneously. Hundreds of Alliance ships are trapped. Admiral Court's face appeared on communication screens throughout the fleet. The old commander looked exhausted and desperate. All commanders, we face a choice. We can retreat and save our remaining ships, or we can find a way to stop this madness before it spreads to every world in the Alliance. Commander Vextar's voice came through the command channel. Okay, Admiral, I recommend immediate withdrawal. We cannot fight an enemy that destroys itself to hurt us. Withdrawal means abandoning millions of civilians, Admiral Korth replied, including everyone still alive on Kepler-4 for 2B. Daeho tried to restart his damaged engines while listening to the debate. Through his cockpit window, he could see the planet below. Cities were burning on the surface where raider landing forces had attacked. Civilian evacuation ships were still trying to escape, but the exploding raider vessels made space travel extremely dangerous. Admiral Daeho broadcast on the command frequency. I think I know what is happening. Cadet Lee, you are under arrest. Commander Vextar interrupted. Your unauthorized actions triggered this disaster. Maybe they did, Daeho admitted. But the raiders were always planning this. They studied Alliance tactics for years. When they realized they could not beat unpredictable human methods, they activated a plan to destroy everything. Admiral Korth was quiet for a moment. Explain your theory, Cadet. The raiders never wanted to conquer Alliance territory, Daeho said. They wanted to destroy our ability to fight organized wars. Every exploding ship damages our fleets and makes us afraid to work together. Hanzo's voice came through the communication system from the Academy ship. Even if that is true, what can we do about it? Our formations do not work against them. And random tactics just make them suicide bomb everything. Daeho looked at his tactical display. The pattern was becoming clear now. The raiders were not attacking randomly. They were targeting the most organized and disciplined Alliance units. First, ships that followed formations perfectly were being destroyed, while vessels that moved unpredictably survived longer. We need to coordinate chaos, Daeho said suddenly. That makes no sense, Commander Vextar replied, but Ji Woo's voice came through a private channel to Daeho. I understand what you mean. Controlled randomness, organized unpredictability. Exactly, Daeho said. We use human tactical principles, but we coordinate them across the entire fleet. Every ship moves unpredictably, but they support each other. Admiral Korth considered this. How do we coordinate tactics that are designed to be uncoordinated? Answered from her communication station. I can create a network that shares tactical information instantly. Each ship can see what others are doing and adapt without following preset formations. This is madness, Commander Vextar said. Military discipline exists because it works. If we abandon formations, we abandon everything that makes us strong. Another Alliance cruiser exploded as a raider's suicide ship reached it. The expanding Fire lit up space like a deadly firework display. Our formations are getting us killed, Hansel said, quietly. Dotho was surprised to hear doubt in his friend's voice. Maybe we need to try something different. Admiral Korth made his decision. All ships, this is Admiral Korth. We are implementing emergency tactical protocol. Disregard standard formations. All vessels will operate independently while maintaining communication with the fleet network. Admiral, this violates every principle of Alliance military doctrine, Commander Vextar protested. Alliance military doctrine is failing, the Admiral replied firmly. Cadet Lee, can your people coordinate this new approach? Dotho felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. Thousands of lives would depend on whether his idea worked. Yes, Admiral, but we need every human in the fleet to help. Over the next hour, something unprecedented happened in Alliance military history. Human officers throughout the fleet began sharing tactics that had never been taught at any academy. Ancient Earth strategies adapted for space combat. Unpredictable attack patterns that confused enemy learning systems. Sojin created a communication network that allowed instant sharing of tactical information without requiring ships to follow identical patterns. Each vessel could see what others were doing and support them without losing independence. G.H. Wu worked with human engineers on dozens of ships to modify weapons and systems. They programmed randomness into everything from engine patterns to energy weapon frequencies, but the cost was enormous. While the humans organized their chaotic tactics, more Alliance ships fell to Raider suicide attacks. Entire squadrons disappeared in balls of expanding plasma. The carefully ordered fleet that had arrived at Kepler-4 for to be was being torn apart. Keiho, Sojin, called through the communication system. I'm reading massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. The Raiders are preparing something big, on a sensor display. Keiho could see energy readings building up at dozens of locations on Kepler-4 for 2B. The Raiders had ground installations that were charging the same type of suicide weapons. They are going to destroy the entire planet, he whispered. If Kepler-4 were to be exploded, the energy release would be visible from dozens of star systems. It would send a message to every world in the Alliance. Surrender or watch everything burn, Commander. Vextar's voice came through the communication system one final time. Admiral, we must retreat immediately. Cannot save a planet that is about to explode. But Admiral Korth was looking at tactical displays that showed the new human coordination methods working. Alliance ships using unpredictable tactics were surviving longer and actually destroying some Raider vessels. Negative, Commander, the Admiral said. We have found a way to fight them. We are going to save this world. The battle for Kepler-4 for to be was about to enter its final phase. Everything would be decided in the next few hours. Either the Alliance would learn to fight with organized chaos, or an entire planet would burn as a warning to the galaxy. Dotho checked his repaired engines and prepared for the most important mission of his life. Success would prove that human unpredictability could save the Alliance. Failure would destroy everything he cared about. The choice between order and chaos had become a choice between life and death. Academy. Thousands of names were carved into the black stone. Alliance soldiers who died because the old ways of fighting could not stop the Raiders. The battle had lasted 18 hours. In the end, the human tactics of organized chaos worked. Alliance ships, using unpredictable patterns, survived long enough to destroy the Raider ground installations before they could explode the planet. But the cost was terrible. For half the Alliance fleet was lost, and entire worlds had been damaged by Raider suicide attacks. Do you ever regret it? Sojin asked as she joined him at the memorial. She now wore the uniform of a communications commander, responsible for coordinating tactical networks across the entire sector. Every day, Deho replied honestly. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I had just followed orders. Everyone would be dead, Hansal said as he approached them. He wore the insignia of the new Human Tactical Advisory Corps, military unit that taught unconventional warfare to alien officers. The raiders would have destroyed dozens of worlds before anyone figured out how to stop them. The three friends stood quietly for a moment, reading names on the memorial wall. Many of them were people they had known at the academy, cadets who died because they followed the formations they were taught, even when those formations failed. Conneral. Korth wants to see you, Sojin told Deho. He is in the new command center. Deho walked through corridors that looked very different from the old academy. Instead of rigid military decorations, the walls now showed artwork from different species working together. The Alliance had learned that diversity of thought was just as important as the diversity of biology. The command center was much larger than before. Instead of a single commander making all decisions, teams of officers from different species worked together to solve problems. Human creativity, Centauri logic, and Vexterian patience combined to create strategies that no single species could develop alone. Admiral Korth was studying reports from across the galaxy. At 65 years old, he looked much older than he had 6 months ago. The responsibility of rebuilding the Alliance military had aged him quickly. Lieutenant Lee, the Admiral said as Deho entered, "I have new orders for you." Deho had been promoted to lieutenant despite his initial insubordination. The Alliance needed officers who could think creatively, even if they sometimes broke rules. "I am ready, Admiral." "We have detected signals from the Outer Rim territories," Admiral Korth explained. "Something is building installations on dead worlds. The technology signatures match raider equipment." Deho felt his heart sink. They survived. Some of them, yes. But this time, we will be ready. The Admiral activated a holographic display showing the new Alliance fleet formations. Every ship now has human tactical advisors. Every formation includes unpredictable elements. We have learned from our mistakes. The display showed mixed formations, where ships from different species used their unique strengths together. Centauri ships provided logical analysis. Human vessels created chaos and confusion. And Vexterian forces maintained discipline and coordination. "What are my orders?" Deho asked. "You will command a new type of ship," Admiral Korth said. "Vessel designed specifically for unconventional warfare. Your crew will include the best tactical minds from 5 different species." Through the command center windows, Deho could see the ship the Admiral was talking about. It looked different from traditional Alliance vessels. Instead of smooth, organized lines, it had an asymmetrical design that seemed almost random. But he knew every strange angle served a purpose. "Who designed the ship's systems?" Admiral Korth continued. "All her experimental technologies have been approved for military use. Randomized stealth, chaos weapons, unpredictable maneuvering systems. Everything the old Alliance considered too dangerous." "What happened to Commander Vexstar?" Deho asked. "Is teaching at the academy," the Admiral replied. "After the battle, he admitted that rigid thinking would have doomed us all. He now teaches a course called Adaptive Strategy. Students learn when to follow rules and when to break them." That evening, Deho visited his old instructor. Commander Vexstar's office looked the same, but the reptilian officer seemed different, less rigid, more thoughtful. "I owe you an apology," Commander Vexstar said without looking up from his desk. "My insistence on following regulations nearly caused a galactic catastrophe." "You were trying to maintain order," Deho replied. "That is important too. Order without flexibility is just another form of chaos," the commander said. "The raiders proved that. They exploited our predictability because we were afraid to change." Commander Vexstar stood up and walked to his window. Below them, Cadets from dozens of species were practicing new tactical formations that combined discipline with creativity. I have been teaching for 50 years, the commander continued. So I always believed that following rules was the most important thing a soldier could learn. Now, I understand that knowing when to break rules is equally important. How do you teach that? Deho asked. Okay, by admitting that I do not have all the answers, Commander Vexstar replied. The new academy curriculum includes classes on creative problem solving, historical human warfare, and something called controlled improvisation. Students learn that following orders and thinking independently are both necessary skills. A week later, Deho stood on the bridge of his new ship as it prepared to launch. His crew included Sojin as communications officer, Zentari tactical analyst named Kexron, a Vixterian weapons specialist called Theron, and a young human engineer who reminded him of Ji Woo. All systems ready for departure, Sojin reported. From her station, course laid in for the outer rim, Kexron added in his methodical voice, as the ship moved away from Nexus 7 station. Deho thought about the path that had brought him here. 6 months ago, he was a cadet in trouble for breaking academy rules. Now he commanded a ship designed specifically to break rules when necessary. Lieutenant, the young engineer, called from her station. K, am detecting unusual energy signatures in the outer rim. The patterns do not match any known technology. New enemies, Deho said calmly. Or old enemies with new tricks. Order, sir, Sojin asked. Deho looked around his bridge at officers from different species working together. Each one brought unique skills and perspectives. Together, they could face challenges that would defeat any single approach. Set course for the unknown signals, he ordered, and prepare all systems for unconventional warfare. As his ship jumped into hyperspace, Deho reflected on what he had learned. Rules existed for good reasons, but those reasons could change. The greatest challenge was not knowing when to follow orders or when to break them. It was accepting responsibility for the consequences either way. Behind them, the memorial wall at the academy reminded everyone of the price of necessary change. Ahead of them, new threats waited in the darkness between stars. But the Alliance was different now. Stronger because it had learned to embrace both order and chaos somewhere in the galaxy. New enemies were building their strength, but they would face an alliance that could no longer be predicted or exploited. An alliance that had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the best way to follow the rules is to know when to break them. The future was uncertain, but it belonged to those brave enough to write new rules when the old ones failed.